Welcome to 75 Stories, a podcast created to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Normandale Lutheran Church in Edina, Minnesota.
My name is Jenny Bock, and my husband Tom and I joined Normandale almost 30 years ago now. We have raised our family here. We have found a home at Normandale. Tom and I bought our first house in Richfield, and like many young adults, hadn't been necessarily going to church a lot for the first few years of our marriage. But when we knew we wanted to start a family, we got a little more serious about church shopping. I think we went every other week. Who picked a church we visited? Once we had been at Normandale, we never looked anywhere else after that. We probably came maybe 3 or 4 times before people were calling us by name when we walked in. I think we found Normandale, but Normandale definitely found us as well. When we first started coming here, my role was just to slip in, worship, and slip out. That's what I was looking for. It's what I wanted. We loved the worship life at Normandale. I wasn't particularly interested in more. And it, over time, developed that I wanted community as well as a worship space. I think that I looked at the bulletin one week and saw that they were looking for someone to read to the preschool kids, something I was very much interested in. And I realized that if I wanted community, the best way to get started was to put myself out there. And I volunteered. And I started meeting people more than just quickly over coffee. And I have to admit, we probably snuck out most coffee hours after church because, like I said, we just wanted to get our worship life started and weren't sure what else we were looking for. And that evolved. I have played many different roles here, chaired lots of different committees that started with preschool. It evolved into a stint on church council. I was president of the congregation, which then evolved into a staff role for a period of time. And everything in between just was part of my growth in the community, but also changing lifestyle, changing what I was doing outside of Normandale brought me to a new avenue of interest here. And so it really was following my life, the things I found interesting to do at Normandale or that called me to get involved in. But I think the overarching theme for me was community and finding my people. And once you find your people, you'll do almost anything they ask you to do. So I've done a little bit of everything. I recently finished up the call committee for our new lead pastor, so that was a big commitment. But my ongoing current volunteer, or I would say just community-related roles, are working on a team of people that provide a visual arts aspect to our worship service. So we are responsible for mimicking the themes, the worship life for us in a visual way inside the sanctuary. And there are about 13 of us who do that, and it's a ton of fun. I am a part of a Wednesday women's Bible study. My husband and one of my kids, we are going to be confirmation group leaders. So we're still very much dabbling in lots of different things here. Probably one of my favorite memories, which would not be Tom's, we were in the sanctuary with little kids. Our oldest, Callan, was probably 2.5 and getting just squirrely. Tom was going to try to take him out of the worship service, knowing that it just wasn't going anywhere positive. Callan started to try to crawl under the pew in front of us, and Tom just gently grabbed him by his hips and was just like sliding him out from under that pew to remove him, to figure out, what he needed. And Callan went limp and said, "Stop, why do you always hurt me?" at the top of his lungs, as only a 2.5-year-old could do. Tom put up his hands like, "I'm not hurting my child, I'm not hurting my child." It was the best memory for me because I'm looking at Tom's horrified face, at our son who's under the pew, and I checked the faces around us, and they were absolutely compassionate, giggling, most of them, trying to help. It felt like we were at home. People were taking us where we were, which was not a good spot in the moment. And I don't know. I love it. It's not something Tom probably likes to recall, but he felt like he wanted to go around at coffee hour and say to everybody, I really don't hurt my children. I was just trying to slide them out from under the pew. Normandale is meaningful to us, not only as a place that nurtures our faith. It has also become a community where we are supported in all of our life stages, not just in faith, but in our whole life. I think that is something we didn't even realize we needed or were looking for when we started. I think we started with a narrow view of what a faith community was. It was worship life. It was learning about our faith. The thing that Normandale has provided for us is a context for our entire lives. So I really don't think I can overstate how important it has been to us. My hope for the next chapter at Normandale with a new lead pastor is that we retain the essential parts of what Normandale has been from its inception as a faith community. As importantly, open our eyes to what the next phases are and are really ready for it, are prepared that things will not stay the same. They haven't in the past, and they are certainly not going to in the future, and that as a leader, Pastor White is somebody who can walk alongside us in that journey and help us with that call and the discernment behind that call, and that really sparks some enthusiasm for change rather than what can be an unnerving point in time when you have a change in leadership and the world around us is changing so quickly and we have to adapt as a community. I hope we can do that with joy, and I believe that's what's next for us.
We are so glad you joined us today here at 75 Stories. If you'd like to share your own story, please contact Christy Shepard at kshepard@normluth.org. Join us next week for another story, and share this podcast with your friends and family. We are all part of the Normandale community.